I rise in this House today to speak to this important motion introduced by my colleague and friend, the MP for Edmonton Manning. I stand in support of Canada's oil and gas sector. I stand on behalf of families in my riding of Essex and the many, many workers in the energy sector across Windsor and Essex whose jobs are in jeopardy by Governor Whitner's intended closure of the Line 5 pipeline. Before I get into the issue of Line 5, it's important to my riding, my region, my province, and Canadians in Quebec, East, as well as the border, issue of the significant contributions of Canada's oil and gas sector as a whole. Please indulge me as I share some personal news. Last weekend, Madam Speaker, I received a promotion. No, not in this House. Something much more important than that. I went from being a father of 3 to now a father of 3 and a grandfather of 1. As tradition has it, Madam Speaker, in my family, I am now known by my little precious little boy as Pip. My grandson, Levi James Lewis, entered the world on May the 8th. He is the firstborn son of proud parents, Cody and Grace. As other grandparents in this House can attest, there is no feeling like it. When I left Ottawa on Sunday, Madam Speaker, he was still in hospital. Our first meeting was virtual. I can hardly wait to get home to wrap my arms around him. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now I'm going to get back to the important issue of the day. With the intended closure of Line 5, Madam Speaker, much is at stake, not just in the present, but also in the future. As this government prints money, deficit spends and accumulates massive debt and jeopardizes key industries such as our oil and gas sector, will the next generation be able to provide for their family, own a home, or even buy a car? For over 6 decades, the Line 5 pipeline has delivered crude oil and other petroleum products across Wisconsin and Michigan to Sarnia through the Strait of Mackinac. In all that time, the pipeline has operated efficiently and responsibly. It has never experienced a leak. The pipeline is tested regularly with the latest and most advanced technology available. Recent inspection reports show that Line 5, from an engineering and integrity perspective, is, like new, in an excellent condition. Nevertheless, Enbridge has been working on a plan to reroute the pipes through a tunnel beneath the bedrock of the Straits. According to the Daily Mining Gazette, the Line 5, and I quote, the Line 5 crossing features exceptional and incredibly durable enamel coating and pipe walls that are 3 times as thick of the minimum of 0.812 inches as those of a typical pipeline. Further, renowned for the Hoover Dam, the builder built Line 5 in an area of the Straits that would minimize potential corrosion due to a lack of oxygen in the cold water temperatures. Built in 1953, this feat of engineering, Line 5 currently has 540,000 barrels a day flow through this pipeline, providing half of all the supply of light crude oil, light synthetic crude oil, and natural gas liquids in Ontario and Quebec. That is a lot of households, Madam Speaker, that rely on this ready supply of crude for their basic needs. While I put the highest value on the importance of protecting our waterways, particularly the magnificent Great Lakes, which just so happen to be in my backyard, while I support measures to preserve our environment for future generations, while shutting down this pipeline will have catastrophic consequences in the near future, not only for the workers whose livelihoods will be jeopardized, but also for those citizens, communities, and industries dependent on this pipeline for an affordable supply of energy. To put it in real terms, this oil heats homes and businesses, fuels vehicles, and powers industry. This includes fueling Ontario's airports, including the Pearson International Airport. As the airline industry makes a comeback, the last thing they need is fuel shortages at exorbitant costs. Small businesses left in tatters because of the pandemic cannot afford another hit. Workers and their families need the stability these well-paying jobs provide. Many farmers use propane to heat homes, barns, and commercial greenhouses, as well as to dry the grain. Sourcing propane elsewhere could drive the cost of agriculture production up along with the cost of food for Canadian families. Aaron Henry, the Senior Director of Natural Resources and Sustainable Growth at the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, describes Line 5 as probably, and I quote, one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure for energy use in central Canada, end quote. Further, shutting down this pipeline will not reduce the demand, and it will only shift the transport of it to other modes of by truck, rail, or ship, with potentially more risks. The Minister of Energy told the House that, and I quote, "It will take 800 rail cars and some 2,000 trucks in Canada alone to move along an equivalent amount of petroleum products." There is a tendency among environmentalists and their surrogate legislatures to minimize the importance of the oil and gas sector and to magnify its supposed negatives. I know that it is fashionable to do so, but I view such tactics as counterproductive as Canada moves in the direction of a greener economy. If we are going to move certain industries to a zero emissions, such as the auto sector, we need to root our goals in reality. To do otherwise is to create unnecessary hardships and suffering and risk energy poverty instead of substantial growth. Even though ideological opponents of the oil and gas are loath to admit it, the revenues from Canada's oil and gas sector provide significant revenues to government coffers. These revenues facilitate transfer payments that benefit all Canadians and allow Canada to afford the social programs upon which all Canadians depend. As well, our technology is among the cleanest and most advanced in the world. We should be capitalizing on that as part of our contribution to our green global initiatives. This government's record on the oil and gas industry is among its saddest legacies. It alleges support for Line 5, the minister describing it as non-negotiable, but the government has done little to demonstrate that support. I was encouraged to hear the minister say in QP today that Canada has worked with several provincial ministers of energy to file an amicus brief with the Michigan court. That is commendable and good news indeed. However, the urgency and importance of keeping Line 5 open for business needs effort on several fronts, not just the last-minute court briefs. It also requires political will. Has the Prime Minister called President Biden? Has he made the case directly to the President for upholding the 1970 treaty with the U.S. to guarantee uninterrupted transit of crude oil across the border? In January 2021, the leader of Canada's Conservatives and the official opposition described, and I quote, "Enbridge Line 5 as an essential part of our Canadian energy supply chain. The results of the cancellation are clear. Immediate and alarming fuel shortages across Ontario and Quebec, increased truck and rail transportation of oil, increased fuel prices, and greater environmental risks." And Madam Speaker, he went on to say, "The Prime Minister and his government need to ensure this vital infrastructure link remains uninterrupted and jobs are not lost. Canada can't afford another Liberal failure like Keystone XL." In February 2021, he urged the acting American ambassador to Canada to tell Washington to preserve the Line 5 pipeline to the United States. He appealed to the American self-interest, saying correctly that shutting down Line 5 would have a negative economic impact on both countries. So to wrap up, Madam Speaker, so far this government's approach to Line 5 looks a lot like an approach to Keystone XL in November. Pray for the best and hope the worst doesn't come to pass. That is not leadership, Madam Chair. Canada needs real action to secure our future. Today, the leader of the official opposition again raised the issue in the House, saying, and I quote, "Tomorrow, the Governor of Michigan wants to shut down the Line 5 pipeline that is critical to the Canadian economy." After months of inaction, this morning, mere hours before the deadline, the Liberal government failed again. Madam Speaker, these are legitimate questions. Madam Speaker, the Conservative leader has exemplified true leadership in the defense of Line 5. And in final closing, Madam Speaker, I wish to thank again my colleague, the MP for Edmonton Manning, for introducing this motion and giving me the opportunity to speak to the importance of Line 5. Thousands of Canadians are depending on the government to take action.